Charlotte, thank you for helping me out. Charlotte's going to keep an eye on the chat. What I'm going to do is share my whole screen. And you might have heard when we came in, the session's being recorded. Just mine and Charlotte's voices will be recorded. Everyone's lines are muted. But if you want to pop something in the chat, then Charlotte will sporadically read bits of that out. So thank you, Charlotte. And also today, we're going to use Mentimeter. Mentimeter, just in case you don't know, completely anonymous. So it's a little bit of fun. So if you can, let's get set up for that now. If you can scan the QR code that's on screen there, or you can open up an internet browser window and go to www.menti.com and enter the code you see there, which is 18037624. And if you can give me a little thumbs up, there should be a thumbs up button on your phone right now. If you can do that, that just lets me know people are in. And just while you're struggling and getting ready to do that, I would say don't panic. If you can't get logged into it or what have you, anytime there is a poll, there's a little reminder at the very top of the screen of where to go at menti.com and what the code is. And it's just a bit of fun. It's just to make it not just Charlotte and myself talking all the time. So we're going to get going. We've got about 45 minutes. I'm certainly happy to stick around at the end if people have got questions. Thanks for all those lovely thumbs up. It's always hard talking to a screen. You think of people watching, so thanks for being with us. We'll have some time at the end for questions via the Teams, via the Zoom chat, and I'm going to get us going. So what are we covering today? Well, we're going to cover career activism, but I'd like to know before we get going, which hat you're wearing. So if you grab your phone, you'll see a little dot. You can move that. If you're here as an HR, with your HR hat on, you've got your hard hat on, dealing with everyone's problems, pop your hat there. If you're here just, thinking about yourself and your career, move that side towards the employee. And if you're a lead, you're thinking, oh, I've got to have some career conversations. How do I get around that? And we'll just let those dots fall where they land. And if you're an HR leader, but you're also an employee and a manager, pop a dot in the middle, whatever you want. It's only a bit of fun, just so Charlotte, I can get a read of who's on the phone today. Okay, lovely. We'll give it another minute or so, just a couple of seconds for those last few dots to come in. Wonderful. Okay, great to know. What we'll do, and this is good, this is going to plan, we're going to start with our HR hats on. I'm going to talk you through some stats. What's one of these things without some stats? And from there, we'll then roll on to some tips that we can use as managers or employees. So thank you for that. Right. Did you know the average cost of unwanted churn, so people you didn't want to leave your business and they end up leaving anyway, is over £30,000. There's a brilliant study, it's called The Brain Drain by Oxford Economics, and I've mentioned it before in a couple of other sessions we've done. When I first saw that number, I nearly fell off my chair. It sounds absolutely mad that losing people who you don't want to lose costs that much money. But actually, if you walk through these things here, it starts to make sense. Before anybody's even left, you might have somebody who's in a role that doesn't quite fit them and they're disengaged. You're not getting a return on that salary you're paying them. Maybe if you have a bunch of people like that, you have to make some redundancies. And there's a cost with that. People are working their notice period. They really check out there. People going on sick leave, people checking out. So you're losing even more return on the investment of the salary you're still paying that person. There's an opportunity cost and morale impact to people who are having to now carry the weight now that teams are shrinking. We're in a more litigious society. People are more likely to sue for wrongful dismissal if you have to make people redundant. And then, that's before somebody even leaves, then you've got to potentially pay a recruitment fee for backfill. You then have to negotiate. It's way more expensive to get people in from other companies because you have to use a higher salary to draw them in. You have to onboard those people, which carries a cost. And then, of course, there's a period, it could be 1 month, it could be 3 months, it could be a year, to actually get people fully hitting their straps and operating at the amount of return on investment that you're paying them in terms of salary. So that number seems crazy, but it is actually really quite plausible. So check out that article, okay? It's called The Brain Drain. The other thing I want to point to is why people might be leaving. So we know there's a big cost. This is from a great piece by Adecco. If you'd like to know more about that, drop myself an email, drop your LHH client partner an email. Like, why are people leaving? Well, 21%, the number one reason, my career's not progressing. Give that a read. Not, I'm not getting promoted. I don't have that feeling of progression. I'm not growing here anymore. And my work's not meaningful. So maybe what lights me up isn't aligned with my role that I'm doing at the moment. I'm not using all my skills. So there's a piece there around alignment. And I'm worried my role will cease. Well, if we're not helping people and giving them confidence that we're looking after them and we value them and we're going to help adjust their role, people might jump before they're pushed. So those are the reasons people are leaving. This one worries me. Where are they looking? 47% of people, this is Adecco research, 47% of people regularly, right now potentially, maybe even some people on this webinar, have got LinkedIn open and they're having a look, they're looking outside for jobs. And 8% of people will say they are regularly checking in on their internal jobs board. We need, if you've got your HR hat on, we need to flip that around. People need to be thinking, I want to progress here and grow. I'm going to have a look on my internal jobs board. I'm going to use my internal network. I'm going to go to my career champions, whatever it may be. It's absolutely shocking that people think, in order to move forward, I'm going straight to LinkedIn. We have some clients where people, to find internal promotions, go via external recruiters, which again is just absolutely mad. So we know it's really, really important as HR to look after our people and give them career traction. Now, if you've had your HR hat on, take it off for the rest of this session, okay? Just spend some time thinking about yourself. It'll help you get used to the kind of conversations we love having. You know, Charlotte, you work with people all the time in career conversations. I know we've got some statements on screen. What kind of things do people often come with you? That first meeting, and you say, hi, tell me a bit about yourself and your career. What kind of comments do you get from people?
Yeah, thank you. So when I work with people on a one-to-one or in a group, actually, the things that they share is, I don't know how to sell myself. You know, I'm doing a really, really good job, but other people seem to be getting noticed over me. Or I'd like to talk to my manager about my career, but I don't know how to go about it. I don't want to come across as if I'm unhappy or moaning. And I hear a lot of people saying that they just get their head down, and because they're good at their job, they get given more and more and more work, and they feel like they're taking the load. And it's how to navigate out of that are the things that people share with me the most.
Thanks, Charlotte. Really helpful. And especially that last one. Just, you know, I'm a good doer. I'm getting more and more and more work, and it's getting harder and harder and harder to lift myself up. And that's really what today's session is all about, is helping people to become career active. So thanks for that insight, Charlotte. We want to help you beyond today. So we've got today's session on career activism, and picking up on some of those themes that Charlotte's talked about. On the second, and please do get in touch with your LHH client partner, or drop myself or Charlotte an email if you'd like to get involved in these. On the second, there's making your network work for you. Brilliant session by our wonderful colleague, Nikki. Then there's creating career confidence on Friday the 9th. So very often people, I'm working really hard and I've got my head down, and I don't feel confident to go and network. I don't feel confident to apply for that internal role. So creating career confidence, that's a general theme around confidence. And then our wonderful colleague Massimo has recently just completed his master's in this, the intricate dance of the nervous system. So you can be as confident as you like, but maybe you've got that one stakeholder who's quite a senior you need to talk to, or maybe you've got that interview coming up and you freeze. And Massimo's done a great deal of thinking around that dynamic. We've all been there. You know, best man speech, whatever it might be, you're freezing. So, you know, please do come along to those. The other thing I'd say is we're passionate about helping people. We love doing that. We've got a program which is framed around career coaching and workshops. It's called Career Navigator. We know that you want to get career active. One of the things you might have seen on the flyer for this is this time of year is the time when most people decide they're going to quit their job if they're going to do it. So we really want, if you're here, put your HR hat on for a second again. If you're here as an HR leader, there's a discount available. If you book between now and the end of February with a code, which is Navigator1, so jot that down, Navigator1, you can receive a 15% discount on that Career Navigator product. So please do come to some of these sessions. Please do get in touch with your LHH client partner about that Career Navigator product, or all of our programs, and do use that promotional code, because we really do want to help. So thanks, Charlotte, for the insight. You know, we know people are going there. Today, we'll loop back on today now. Take your HR hat on and put your employee hat on. What's career activism? And we're going to talk about that today. So what drives life satisfaction? Really powerful question just to tee us up. Brilliant piece of work by McKinsey. Okay, they asked 27,732 people across multiple geographies, multiple cultures, multiple levels of organizations. There's a bar chart on screen. Mental health, super powerful. 36% of what drives our mental health. And we've all been there. You've had maybe life can look great, but you're not feeling great. Or life can be quite hard, but for whatever reason, you're proud of how you're going through it. Our mental state it's like a lens that sits over our overall sense of how we view the world. And it's massively powerful. What I'd like to do, whilst acknowledging the impact and importance of looking after our mental health, is just lift that lens off for me for a minute and let's look at the other two. Career satisfaction, 25% of our overall life satisfaction, and other. Now, in other are some pretty powerful things: spouse, kids, hobbies, my community. And within that other bracket, what that tells me is, unless one of those things in the other bracket is absolutely dominating that 39%, there is an argument to say, actually, your career satisfaction has a bigger impact on a day-to-day, week-to-week, on your overall life satisfaction, maybe sometimes than your spouse, maybe sometimes than your kids. And if you think about it, you might be at a family barbecue, but maybe on the Friday, you've really let your boss down, or your boss has given you a real dressing down, or you've missed out on an opportunity and you're sat there and you know, the barbecue's there and it's finally summer, but you're just sat there and you think, oh my gosh, this has brought my whole weekend down. We know how we can carry these things around with us. So it's really, really important. And one of the things I would say is, this is important. Like, if you do nothing else, pop some time in your calendar now, maybe for a couple of weeks' time, just an hour, just to check in on yourself and your career. And even if the only thing you do at the end of this webinar is just to make a point of remembering this is important, blocking time to do it, do that. Now, talked about the importance of careers. When do you typically find yourself thinking about your career? And Charlotte, while people are typing, feel free to type that on Mentimeter and hit submit. Charlotte, when do you find yourself thinking about your career?
Actually, more recently, I've really taken a good look at my career, and it was as a result of somebody else in the business moving on to do another project and another role in another part of the business. And what that enabled for me is to look at other opportunities for me. Perhaps I could get involved. Well, I did. I took on some of the projects and tasks that they left behind as a result of their move. So I think when people do leave or move into another team, it does prompt people to actually think about their own careers.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah,
really
we have
helpful,
some
Charlotte.
great.
Often it's when we see others and what's happening there. I'm just reading some of these things on the chat, and thank you for applying them. I really do appreciate it. Got some ones here. After a bad meeting on one-to-one, whilst I'm unhappy and dissatisfied at work, dissatisfied with what's in front of me around milestones. So holidays, that's a good one. You know, often we're sat there on the beach and we're so busy, we finally lift ourselves up. And I'm pleased, actually, because I've been making this claim for quite a while and it still holds true. Like, I've never done one of these ever, and somebody's put in here, when I have my career planning session, of course, for whatever reason. So McKinsey are there saying it's almost more powerful than spouses, kids, and sense of community. And yet you look at these, we're so reactive when it comes to careers. Now, in case you feel bad, don't, because you're not alone. There's a piece of work, really powerful piece of work, done by Gail Matthews. It's in 2015. If you Google Gail Matthews 2015 goal setting, it should come up. What Gail Matthews found was 83% of people have no goals. I'm busy, and maybe they've got a PDR, but they don't have a career goal. Just 14% of people had goals, but they're there in their head. So I kind of would like to do this kind of thing. And only 3% of people have got that absolute laser focus on, yes, this is what I want. Now, Charlotte, is that broadly representative of what you see? I mean, I don't think we even planned that question, but, you know, is that sort of tally with reality?
Yeah, definitely. I think the proportion of people that have a clear line of sight around their goals it's just not there. And it's when we have sessions like this that people say, today I want to try the thing I want to take away from today is thinking about my own career. And it's not until you can have really good conversations with line managers or other mentors around you, it doesn't always have to be your line manager, is when you can think about what I want and actually put some timelines against it to create a clearer goal. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Charlotte. And great to know. It's not just kind of, you know, on a research paper somewhere. It's in real life. And I would say again, you know, soapbox moment, but all you have to do, if you put your HR hat on for a minute, all you have to do is raise the conversation with people. Like, are you thinking about your career? Not your PDR, your career. Block out time, encourage line managers. We'd love to be a part of helping you do that. Of course we would. But just by blocking time in your own calendar, blocking time in others' calendars, like, slow down. You know, what do you want to do? And asking questions like that, super powerful. So that's the interesting thing. The other thing that's interesting, piece of LinkedIn research, they built on this. There's an article around this. People without a goal, yeah, might achieve some success, but what LinkedIn found, and you can look this up, there's a couple of articles on it, they found people who actually had a goal were, after 5 and 10 years, 10 times more successful. Now, define success. Okay, that could be salary, that could be overall life satisfaction, that could be prestige, but they rated themselves as 10 times more successful. And those who had that laser focus, that written down, really, really, really clear goal, are 30 times more successful. And if you think about people you know, it's that person who actually was really, really clear, who often gets where they want to get. So really, really powerful soapbox moment. The rest of the session is going to be about how we get there, but just do yourselves a favor now, put your employee hat back on, just focusing on how clear are you on your goal and how close are you. And so I've done a drop there. If I decided tomorrow I wanted to be an astronaut, I'd be quite clear on it, but I'm nowhere near. I'm 41 now. The likelihood of me becoming an Air Force pilot and doing a science degree and all the other things you need to do and getting into space is virtually nil. So that's me, but just pop your dot on there, move that dot around. Just a bit of fun. And I just want everyone to know you're not alone. I don't want anyone to leave this webinar today going, I'm worthless, I don't have a goal. Look at us. There's a real mixture of clarity on the goals and also around closeness. Now it's great there's someone right at the top right. Perhaps afterwards they could stay on and give everyone some tips. But you can see after a while, if you think about your own life, times where you've had a clear goal and then 6 months later how you've progressed, you'll see a correlation there. So even if you think I'm a million miles away from career success, just start by saying, like, okay, what do I actually want? It sounds ludicrously simple, but life is based on brilliant basics. And if just having the goal, just asking yourself the question, really worthwhile. Okay, so box moment over. Hopefully that's been fun for everybody just to check in. We're going to talk now through some processes to help us get there. And we're going to walk through LHH's core framework for careers, which is called the 5 Ps. Now, some of you might know these 5 Ps, but just give yourself the luxury of time of just spending some time thinking about them. So think about someone. Now, they can be real, they can be fictional, and they can be, a film star. They could be someone you know personally. It could be yourself, who's had an amazing career. You don't need to write down why. Just pop those names up there. And Charlotte, I asked you beforehand. Thanks for prepping. To name someone you thought had an amazing career. I wondered if you wanted to share that story while people are typing their answers.
Yes, happy to. Yeah, so I knew somebody that worked in the insurance sector for 30 years and was a senior leader. And they were working with a life coach at the time to, manage all the things that come with being a busy mum, all the high level work, the volume of work, the stress and anxiety that all of that brought. And she thought she wanted the next big job. But then realised that it was actually the people skills, the people element that was really strong. And then in the end decided that she wanted to retrain as a coach. She's experienced a coach before. So she took a leap. She cleaned houses for 10 months and then took on 2 coaching qualifications and set up her own business, helping senior leaders to improve their work-life balance.
Wow.
The business developed then into a limited partnership, focusing on customer excellence and employee engagement. And whilst it took a while, for her to reinvent herself with volunteering along the way and lots of support, she very much got there in the end.
Amazing. What a great story. I know we've got some great answers on screen. I just think about that person and they're waking up in the morning and then getting ready to do the cleaning, and it's hard. And just, having that laser focus, just reinforce that there's no way someone like that gets through unless they think there's something better and more me out there. So hopefully encouraging for us. And we've got some great answers on screen. We've got a few that always turn up. So Beyonce always gets in there. I'm really pleased to see Cher in there as well. And I love Billy Connolly. So thanks so much for everyone who shared all these brilliant answers. Now, what have they all got in common? They all do different things, right? We've got film stars, we've got singers, we've got someone's boss, we've got Tom Wamsgangs, we've got, the HRD at someone's work, lots of different people. Here's what they will have had to help them get there, the things that made them able to get there. These 5 Ps. So let's take one of these people. Okay, let's imagine Beyonce before she's famous. She would have known from an early age exactly who she was, what her strengths were. She didn't decide, maybe I want to be an accountant or management consultant. She knew she had that, she knew what lit her up. Performance shaped her reputation. How many other people out there are talented, but they're not going and putting themselves out there? She shaped her reputation. place, having a finger on the pulse in terms of, the music industry, what was appealing, having people help her understand and get ahead of what's there, possibilities, having that really clear vision, and lastly, having a plan, making it happen. And those 5 Ps, you can take that and apply these 5 Ps to a business person, or maybe Charlotte, the person in your example, really tapped into who they were. Those 5 Ps are really, really powerful. Now, Charlotte, I know you meet people all the time, and we're going to do a poll in a minute. Which of these, where do people sort of start with these? Or I don't know, when you introduce this concept to people, have you got any examples of where it's impacted people?
Yes, I have, absolutely. So I've been working with one individual recently, and they're really clear on persons. They know exactly who they are, and they're ticking actually most of these boxes. They're performing really, really well. They've been recognised by the business for their performance as a top talent. They're really aware of the place as well. So not only what's going on in their sector, but what's going on in their function. They've got a really good sense of that. But when it came to talking about possibilities and then plan, they didn't really know how to set goals. And it was just simply the word goal that made them stop in their tracks, think, I don't know how to set a goal. I don't know what goals mean to me. So all we did was have quite a nice discussion around the things that they're interested in, activities that are going on in other functions. And then, as a result, clearly an endless list of instant possibilities was there. And it was just a matter then of maybe prioritising those, putting some actions and some timelines in place to then be able to kind of formulate or work towards a plan. So sometimes it's the terminology, I think, that we use when we say, what are your goals? And they say, well, I don't know what a goal means, so unpacking that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Charlotte. I love that example. And you're right. People do have a funny relationship with goals. I think people feel, oh gosh, if I have a goal, then I'm tied to it, or I've got too many goals. And, actually having somebody to talk through and slow down with it is really powerful. And the main thing, the reason the 5 Ps are useful is we cannot think about all this stuff all the time. It's impossible. So it just helps us think about where to focus and where we might need to draw things forward. Now, in that vein, let's do a poll. So just again, just for fun, just think about yourself. To what extent are you stronger or less strong against these 5 Ps? So do you know who you are at work? Do you really, really know? Do you manage your reputation, or do you just have a good reputation, or as good as you can? Do you know how the world works changing and have a plan for it? I'll just give it a few minutes there if people want to adjust those sliders. And we'll just, maybe give it 30 seconds. And there's 2 reasons for doing this. The first thing is to say you're not alone. The second thing is for you to have a think about where you might want to focus. And we do see a trend that often appears, and it's appearing here. We like thinking about ourselves. We kind of do it by accident all the time anyway, even subconsciously. We kind of like to think about ourselves and our reputation because it's important. I'm a bit less excited about thinking about how the world works changing because I'm busy doing this. As a result, we don't always have a clear future-facing vision. And lastly, I probably should get my plan out. It's time for my PDR. I better whip this thing out of the desk. And that trend always applies. So do spend some time to challenge yourselves on how you can move yourself forward and where you are against those 5 Ps. So thanks everybody who's voted so far. So let's spend some time on person. Now, we're not going to spend much time. Just so the rest of the session, we're going to give you a few tips and tricks for each one of these. But of course, feel free to talk to us offline about any of these in a bit more detail. So person, tapping into ourselves, what makes us at work? Now, I might turn up at work. I've got a particular style and way of doing things. I've got things that light me up in my values, and I've got interests as well. There's so much that goes into me. Charlotte, you have a nice way of describing it, which you described to me earlier, which is the sweet spot. Do you want to tell people about that a bit?
Yeah, and we've had a nice comment in the chat about this as well. So it's finding your sweet spot. So the sweet spot for me is really, it's the place that gives you energy and motivation, and just kind of gives you that ability to go for longer in your job, So a really simple thing to do is think about columns or buckets, whichever one resonates with you. But if you had 3 buckets, I've got, right, what are my strengths? So this is all about who I am. Another bucket for your skills. So this is what I do. And then you've got another bucket for your interests. And perhaps these are the things that you're interested in, and they might be things that you might want to develop further over time. And you could have a 4th bucket, if you like, called values as well. But if you can do a bit of a self-audit and just check in, does my current role have a blend of all of these things? It's like a magic recipe to your success, if you like. So that's the sweet spot. If you can get some sweet spot, then you'll have your energy and more motivation for longer.
Well, thanks, Charlotte. I love that. I'll give you an example for my own life. A good friend of mine, growing up, always very into amateur dramatics. The guy loved acting, loved films, and he was okay, but he was one of these things as a friend. You feel a bit, do I be honest with this person or not? He was never going to make it as an actor, but he was really, really crafty and good with his hands. And he made a move after having banged his head against a brick wall with acting into set design. And he was amazing at it. So now he goes to all the Hollywood premieres. He's out there now. He's done some bits on the West End as well. One of the best in the industry. Still gets that buzz and excitement, but just reflected a bit on his strengths. And we meet people all the time who are the opposite way. They're very good at doing spreadsheets or whatever it is, but it doesn't light them up. So just checking in and reflecting on ourselves, really, really powerful. We're very good at rushing. I mean, this is quite a fast-paced webinar, so I'm sorry if we're going too fast. But one of the things and pieces of advice we give people is to slow down and slow down with your teammates. So if you're here with your manager hat on, we've not really spoken to many of you with your manager hat on yet, but you've got someone who's interviewing to be in your team. You read their CV quickly, skim it. Yeah, good experience. We do the interview, bang, we're working. How often do we actually slow down and get to know our team members? So a really powerful thing you can do is just slow your mind down. We have a portal that we use. And one of the things, we did some research when we were building that, and we found people are awful at listing their own skills and articulating what interests they have. So just by saying, this is my career end to end, really spend some time, grab a couple of coffees, just slow down, tell your career story. You'll be amazed the things that come out of the woodwork that you can explore. Another build on this, do it for a week. Monday, and I really don't like this meeting. And then Tuesday we do this, and I loved that. And just by slowing down, you'd be amazed how much richness you can get out of there. So remember that clarity versus closeness. Busy, trying to get this thing right in front of you, maybe a promotion or a sideways move. Actually slow down, get clear on what lights you up, and it'll just unlock the whole thing. So that's a really simple tip. We've got lots of bright brains on the phone. We've got 106 people. So I'll just value, let's spend a minute just talking about some other tips people might have. And Charlotte, while we're doing that, I know you shared one about the lovely, columns exercise, and I've seen you do that. I think it's really powerful. I don't know if there are any other things that people do just while people are typing in the chat, just to fill a bit of the time.
Yeah, and I think it is slowing down, just giving yourself a little bit of time to do some of these things, and sometimes it doesn't actually take that long. But I recommend people do some, a bit of a deep dive on your values and your career anchors. There's various exercises that you could do, perhaps annually or every 6 months for sure. Tell somebody one of your proudest moments, proudest career moments, and just share that story with somebody. And often when you do that, you'll kind of feel some emotions. So tapping into those emotions, what does that particular story, one of your proudest moments, tell you about you and when you're at your best? Another tip is to think about somebody you admire or aspire to be like. Perhaps somebody and see if they'll sit down with you and brainstorm what qualities they see in you. There is some science behind why I'm asking you to go and find somebody that you also admire and aspire to be like. But it's a really good way to just sit down and really think about what am I good at and what do I really enjoy.
Brilliant. I love that, Charlotte. You're right. Spend some time with people who inspire you and light you up. You might not be able to articulate what's in you, but if you spend time with people who light you up, you'll find your subconscious does the work for you. I love that saying, like, show me your friends and I'll show you your destiny. If you spend time with people doing the kind of things that you like, you don't even need to say, well, I really like intricate detail and data analysis. You just spend time with people who are getting into things they like, and you'll find you naturally migrate to it. Brilliant. I love some of the comments here as well. Your Clifton strengths here, really powerful. Psychometrics, Shine's career anchors was one that Charlotte mentioned. You have some time reflection every Monday. Brilliant. I love that. So really, really useful. I know some of you might listen to Tony Robbins. He talks about this concept of a power hour. And if you can't have a power hour, then make it a power 10 minutes, whatever it is, just block that time. Just, reflect, be super, super clear. Okay. Some lovely example. Yeah. Be patient. That's another really powerful one. Don't panic if you don't know. Fab. Thanks so much. These are brilliant answers, so do breathe them in. Okay. I'm going to move us on because we're all busy and we've all got lunches to eat. Really useful. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's talk about performance. And we're going to talk about this a little bit, but remember, there is a session on the 2nd of February. I think it's Friday the 2nd, around performance. We meet people, it's a tragedy. We meet people like this all the time. They're amazing. But they had that one stakeholder meeting that didn't go so well a few months ago. Or they're amazing, but they just have this blind spot. They don't realize they're doing something. So here are some traps that people do fall into, being a diligent doer, or, competent cruiser. These are things people can sometimes, say to us. And we're not going to spend long on this because there's another session on it. But Charlotte, I know you prepped a couple of simple things that you talk to people about. So I wondered if you wanted to share those now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to think about how you want to show up at work. How do you want to show up? And perhaps asking people for feedback to see if that mirrors what you hope for yourself. Everyone's heard about feedback, and there's different feedback scenarios out there. But what I would suggest is maybe asking 3 people to share 3 words that best describe you at your best. And then another is to ask another 3 people to share 3 things that they think you should keep doing and 1 thing they think you should stop. So perhaps that'll give you a nice mix of how you are showing up and your reputation, and whether there's some work for you to do there or not, or if you're happy with the results.
I love that.
Nice
Thanks,
to see some emoji hearts there as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's always nice having those come through. When one person I heard talk about getting a personal board of directors, just people who you know and trust, and who'll give you that honest but kind feedback. We've all got blind spots. The other thing I'd say, and I'm guilty of this, just forget about perfection. I loved the TV show Suits, but it creates this false thing of, come in at 7 in the morning, work all day and evening, look immaculate, have the perfect answer for everything, be super slick and funny, and jog in the evening, and like, forget it. Be the best version of you, but comparison is the root of misery, or whatever the saying is. Just be aware, but be the best version of you. Authenticity is really powerful. Anyway, Nikki will tell you more about that in far more eloquent terms, but person, reputation, don't forget it. Okay, next, place. We're going to spend a little bit of time here on place. Easiest way to get ahead in the world is actually catch the next wave. There's always new things happening. There are always initiatives at work going on. There are always things we can get involved in. I was at a management consultancy firm when some of the earlier software automation came through. And the guys who got into that, they flew. And we all know someone who just kind of catches a wave. Some startling stats there. I mentioned those kids earlier who might be breaking in. My eldest is actually 5, so he's just started school relatively recently. 65% of people in his year, they're going to end up in jobs that don't exist yet. 2/3 of workers think they need to train and to gain new skills. Remember those stats at the front about why people are leaving. People jumping before they're pushed. People do have this, oh God, what's the future's coming? I've got to get on board with it. And 6 in 10 people are taking or considering a new skill or qualification. Charlotte, you yourself, you're doing a qualification at the moment, I think. Kudos. Wedging that in, very good. So, some stats that might seem a bit alarming, and sometimes we can feel a bit alarmed. If I show you this is the World Economic Forum report on new skills. The top one, skills on the rise: creative thinking, analytical thinking, technological literacy, not deep technological expertise. Okay, I'm using Microsoft PowerPoint now. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it's coded. I know enough about it to make it useful and use it for my purposes. So technological literacy, curiosity and lifelong learning, resilience, flexibility. And you can read the rest of them. But I would say this, how many of those are, oh my gosh, unless you know about Python coding, you are completely stuffed. Now, if you're somebody on the phone today who's in IT and, Python coding is coming into sphere and people are using it, obviously explore it. Don't go coming to me in a few years' time and say, Tim, you told me not to bother. Right? Like, if you have a technically based skill, of course, you need to stay up to date with the latest technical skills. But most of these skills are transferable and things we need to look at and just keep abreast of, and stay curious and just be aware of the next thing that's coming. What are some tips you have to stay ahead? And Charlotte, I don't know if there are things that some of your coachees share, or things you share with them just while people are typing. That would be great to
absolutely. And of course, it's great to focus on ourselves, as we're doing now. I hope you guys are focusing on yourselves, our role, the function, the organisation. But sometimes it's good to take, one huge step backwards, actually, and look at the wider picture in the future. The world of work is changing. We know it changes really, really fast. Innovation, everything else. And often organisations are slower to respond to this. So just thinking about now, what are you good at? What are you good at now? And is it sustainable, knowing the world of work around you and how it might change? And is it time actually to consider a new skill or retraining, perhaps? And you don't need to be a master of all the change around you. Now, I'm certainly not going to be a master in AI, but I certainly am using it to my advantage now. So are you agile, and can you respond to the change that you might see happening once you can take that step back and have a bigger view around the world of work? Yeah.
I love
Does
that,
that help?
Charlotte. Thanks so much. Really helpful. And there's some great things coming through here. Use your network. Speak to your boss, who ought to be keeping up to date as well. Use social media. So LinkedIn interest groups, for example, they're a really powerful way of doing things. Looking back and adjusting, being curious. I love what you said, Charlotte, about, sort of following your passions and, letting your interests and draw you. And I would say, you don't have to be the deepest expert in the room on all these things. You just need to be competent enough and aware enough, and just keep a head up there. I think sometimes people are so busy, they almost ignore things. Just blocking in these rituals, these habits are really powerful. My boss, if I think I'm busy, my boss Isabella is super, super, super busy. Some of you might have met her. She's still she's the one who often comes to me with insight, because she's just spent that 5 minutes on. I'm just going to check LinkedIn, see what people are saying. I'm just going to check this. And so just staying keyed in, really, really powerful. And there's opportunities out there everywhere. Now, one of the things we talked about earlier, the science place, I told you this would be a whistle stop tour with a few tips on. The next one's possibilities. I'll just remind everybody, when we were talking earlier about how many of us actually had a really clear goal and how important it is. And it is super important to get that clarity of vision, not necessarily how do I get promoted, but what does great look like for me? And I know, and we have this experience with coachees sometimes, you're feeling a bit flat, you go on LinkedIn, and it's a nice way of getting punched in the gut, because so-and-so you worked with a few years ago, they've just got promoted again. Somebody who you were at school with, they've just done their XYZ qualification, and oh, here's a photo of someone I worked with, and they always were a bit cocky, but they've got this selfie of themselves, and they're saying they're humbled to be presenting. Now, if you're somebody who posts on LinkedIn and shares your great progress, fantastic. Don't stop doing it. Manage your own brand. I'm just saying, sometimes we're all on the other end of this, and if you're feeling low, it can be tough. And we have coaches who say, I'm so flat and bored and fed up with looking at other people's LinkedIn. And we say to them, forget about it. Let's start writing your own future LinkedIn profile and what work will look like and feel like. So Charlotte, I know you do this activity a lot, and I thought it would be great to just, excuse me, I'm on the tail end of a cough. If you can just talk people through a little bit about this activity, that'd be super helpful.
Yeah, great. So we talked earlier on about your strengths and your skills and perhaps your interests as well. This is a really, really great model to use. It's kind of more led emotionally, I would say. Sometimes I've done this with people, with a group standing up when we close our eyes and actually do a visualization of what our future LinkedIn will look like. So it's quite good. But in this instance, this is what we call a career canvas. Or your my ideal role, you could have that as well. But it's really just thinking about, ultimately, how do you feel at the end of your day, or how do you feel at the end of a week, or even a month? Some roles are really busy in particular months, aren't they? And it's just taking a view through these kind of windows, and perhaps thinking about, how I'd like to show up. We talked about that. So what am I known for? Give yourself a few examples of that. And you're trying to picture what my best week or my best day might look like. So you can perhaps think about the things that you're doing in a day, and actually the things that you're going to stop doing or doing less of in a day, the things that detract that energy that we talked about earlier on in the sweet spot. I haven't gone to order here, but perhaps you want to think about the people that you're surrounded by. Are there any other organisations or any other groups you could be part of to kind of give you that lift? And how do you know? How do you know when you've had a good day? What's the feeling as well at the end of the week when you're at the barbecue, and you want to kind of engage with people? So this is a really great tool. It's called my career canvas, or my ideal role. So hopefully this will help you visualize what good looks like for you.
Thanks, Charlotte. I love the barbecue reference. Can you tell we're desperate for summer to come?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really, really powerful one. And I love how you've described it there. And if you've got an employee or a colleague who's just feels a bit lost, get them to ask them these questions. Really, really powerful. And today's session, remember, what's it about? Career activism. You need the passion to get active and get your head out. So spending some time, as Charlotte said, connecting with the emotional side of things. One of the things, I was in the room when someone was having some coaching, and they were asked to draw their typical day at work, and they drew how they are now, which was them above a little pyramid. So it was managing people. And then they were asked to draw what they'd like it to look like. And they said, actually, they drew themselves in the middle and then people around them. And they wanted to be that person, not everyone's boss, but cross-pollinating ideas. So just doing their same role, but in a different way and adjusting their style. And it wasn't until they'd done that emotional flip that they then were able to see, okay, that's what I want work to feel like for me. And very often, you know, we can kind of just feel like we're beating our head against a brick wall. Or you go on to, you think, oh, I want to move. I'm going to have a little look on my internal jobs board, and it's technical acumen, and it's, oh, you know, job level C, and we lose what we want work to look like. So activities like this, super, super powerful. So we've covered that off. The last thing, and I know we're almost at time, but the last thing is plan. Have one, do one. Book in that time in your calendar now. If you've got direct reports, challenge yourselves and them to check in on your career plan, goal, vision. If you don't have a plan yet, have a vision. If you don't have a vision, have some questions. There's always somewhere to start. And a great model, even if you don't have a clue what you want to do, a really nice model is the 3x3x3 model. So pick 3 things over the next 3 months that you want to achieve. And then crucially for each one, 3 people you're going to tell about it. You're going to make yourself accountable. And it could be, Charlotte, I've been thinking, and over the next 3 months, I want to learn more about what's out there in the market for us. I want to develop a great relationship with our boss's boss. And I want to, I don't know, present 5 of these webinars, whatever it might be, but just tell people. And even if that isn't the end game, at least you're getting yourself moving. And there's too many of us out there who are not career active. We're just doing the do, and we're not taking control. So I know that's a soapbox moment to nearly end on, but that's our tip. You know, whatever that plan looks like, could be an Excel, could be a post-it note on your desktop, whatever it is. Like, just have one. Be in that 3%. Be in that 14%. You had a goal. You know, don't be sat there in the 83. So we're going to wrap up in a second. Here's a reminder of the 5 Ps. Do check in on them. I'm going to remind everybody again, we've got some brilliant things we'd love to talk to you about. One of them is Career Navigator. So you can get a 15% discount on that. If you want to talk to us about what that is, it's a lovely career coaching program. 15% discount on that if you book by the end of February using the code Navigator1, only for those who've been good and paid attention all the way through. Right. Well, thanks.
Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
Lovely. Thanks so much.